In this week's episode, I got to talk with Jared Cappie Capp from Building Outside the Lines. And we talked about the TV show Building Outside the Lines on the Magnolia Network. And he has a YouTube channel and he's all over social media. And we just talked about life. We talked about all kinds of fun, entertaining, educational, wherever we went kind of conversations. And I would also like you to share, review, give us a subscribe on this podcast. It helps us out a ton. And also go over to the don'tdierusty.com store and see some of the merch we have out. That would be awesome too. So I hope you enjoy this next episode of the Don't Die Rusty podcast with Cappie from Building Outside the Lines. Well, hello, Don't Die Rusty Nation. I am lucky enough here to be with Emmy-nominated building.
Didn't know we were starting out like that. I better sit up straight.
Well, I just thought I'd start it out with, Anyway, I'm here with Jared Cappie.
Cappie, yeah.
And, he has Building Outside the Lines, and you do it with Sprout.
Yes, my amazing teenage daughter, Sprout, we call her.
Yeah. And Brandon Ruby, and I've known Brandon for a long time too.
Yes.
And then you have another Brandon.
Yep. we have all the people. We have such a great crew on that show. All local builders and guys we've known for years, and it's been a lot of fun to do.
And it's called Building Outside the Lines.
Yep. So the show it's on the Magnolia Network called Building Outside the Lines. Basically showcases or follows us around with our weird builds, we call it. So our stuff, our YouTube is Build Weird, the channel and our socials and stuff. But that's, I've always just been fascinated with building unique things, and we turned it into a TV show. So
I like hearing, it's funny because I was thinking about this the other day, and I remember when you came back from the Air Force from Spearfish, and you'd come into the other place I used to work at.
Yep, the other store. Yep.
And every once in a while. And, it's interesting to think about where you started. And it is.
It's pretty surreal to look back all the way. And, so when I was born and raised in Spearfish, my grandpa was a builder. My dad was a builder. My grandpa worked with the store that you worked at the time. And when I'd come home, I'd always jump in on projects or, I just wanted to hang out with Grandpa, he'd, of course, pay me a little bit of money to help him with the builds. And, and then when I got out of the Air Force, I was in the Air Force for 4 years. It became apparent pretty quick I didn't like being told what to do. So my military career was very short. But what it did is I left when I was 18 and, sort of vowed never to return like you do when you're a kid. But but what I got to do, I was lucky enough and fortunate enough to do, is I grew up really, really fast. So I left here at 18, convinced I knew everything there was about the world and geopolitics and everything else. And, my friends went off to college. I think there was 2 of us in our graduating class that enlisted. And, within 6 months of being enlisted, I was carrying a gun in Bosnia and doing airdrops and combat zones, and it accelerated my maturity immensely. But what that afforded me to do is sort of the travel piece of it, the adventure piece of it. And by the time I turned 23, I'd been to like 52 countries, and I'm now up to like 60-something, 65 countries or something like that. So for me, it was just this, it was an adventure out of the gate. 20 days after high school, I was in it. And, I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Well, I've talked to this with a few people because I didn't join the military, but I traveled. And I think in this day and age, people need to see what it's like outside the lines, like building outside the lines,
Yes.
because you're building yourself outside the lines.
100%.
And we get stuck thinking we know it all because you can watch it on the internet, you can watch it on TV, and you can think you've been there, but you aren't.
You don't. No, and that was the thing that I remember was sort of very surreal for me. The first time I came home on leave, we were just talking about I'd help Grandpa and stuff out. I'd come home for a week or something, And I remember going out with some friends to a local spot, and being excited to see my buddies.
Yeah.
We hung out from grade school through high school. And I just remember just sitting at the table and we're having supper, and I'm like, just these are the dumbest conversations I've ever been a part of in my entire life. And I remember thinking, this is just so weird. This is not what I thought it was going to be. And it was really this sort of big mental gymnastics for me. So I ended up going home, earlier than I would have as a 20-year-old kid. And my mom, bless my mom's heart, Penny, she says, "Oh, you're home so much earlier than I thought." I said, "Oh, I'm just tired, long day, flew from Texas, all the stuff." And she's like, "Okay, good night," And as I'm walking through the house, my dad, Larry, who's, we're good Midwest kids, we don't talk about feelings. We don't say I love you. You're just supposed to know it.
Yeah.
And my dad says, "That's different, isn't it?" And I stopped and I said, "What?" He says, "It's different. Your friends, everything around you." And I said, "It is." And he says, "It'll get easier." And that was it. And I remember walking downstairs that night and going to bed and just thinking that was sort of this real connection of my father and I had, because he was military, small town South Dakota kid, sort of that story. But it was this, you can watch the news, you can speculate and you can judge people, whether it's at their religion or their culture or their whatever. But until you're in it, until, you see your first baby, a literal baby laying in the gutter in Africa, like all of a sudden poverty and homelessness and orphans and things, whole different spin, what it smells like, what it looks like. And that's been really important for us. We've traveled with Alex. Rachel started traveling with her when she was 3.
Mm-hmm.
So Sprout's been to 17 countries. She's 17 years old. And but we wanted her to see that. We wanted her to see other cultures and hear other languages. And it was really important to experience it. One of the big things when she was little was when we'd travel, because we'd take her out of school, of course, to do it. And that has its consequences. You don't want them to miss class. And, well, she had to order a meal for the family in the native language of the country we were in. Right. So she had to keep a journal every day. She had to draw pictures every day. And then she would present to her class when she got back home. But this one trip, we were in Morocco or Northern Africa. And I'll never forget that she knew that tonight was the night she was going to have to order dinner for the family. And they speak Berber in Arabic, which is, I can't. I've tried. It's horrible. I'm sorry to the people that's their language. I butchered it. I can get through Spanish, some French, but not that. I'm just a point guy. I'm like, hey, can I have 2 of those? That looks really good. And I remember she had a Hello Kitty notebook, just like a little flip book. And she's 9 at the time. And so she wrote down, and it's very, very baby talk, right? It's 3 waters, please.
Yeah. Bread,
please.
Yeah.
Right. And this man, our waiter, comes to the table. I'm not kidding, Rick. He's got to be 6'6". Just, he's huge. And he's so serious. This man, very, very dark-skinned man. And my daughter looks up at him. And she looks at me. I'm like, "You're up, babe. Let's go." And she nervously pronounces these words and sort of stutters through them. And I said, "You're doing great. You're doing great." Mom's encouraging her. And the man does nothing. No affect, no smile, no acknowledgement of her hard work. Well, I'll never forget, he just reaches his hand out and like, "Give it to me." And so she hands him this little pink Hello Kitty notebook, and he takes a pen out of his pocket and he writes something and he gives it back to her. Well, he had rewritten all the words phonetically. So she repronounced it, and in the deepest voice I've ever heard in my life, he says, "Very good, child." And she literally, like, 2 arms in the air, like, so excited, and she's never forgotten that. And it was, I couldn't even tell you what we had for dinner. It doesn't matter. It was that experience for her to have that at a young age. And, and also that waiter didn't have to do that. That waiter he spoke English. Like, he didn't need any of that. And he could have just nodded and walked off and got the bread and the water. Right. But for her, like, and that's what I think adventure is about for me, and travel is about for me, is experiencing that and realizing that guy probably has a little girl too.
Yep.
He was someone's son too. And we're all the same, really, at the end of the day. Like, you want health for your family and your wife and your parents and your, friends. I want my daughter to succeed and do good and have adventures but feel safe, but feel like she's doing something risky too.
Yep.
So yeah, we're all the same at the end of it.
We are, and that's very interesting because I believe adventures are not staying in an all-inclusive hotel, and I want to. Here's what I like doing. I like going to the places nobody's going to go.
Sure.
I've been in some crappy places, we'll just say, and in crappy situations too. You know what I mean? It's like, I've been in places where they say, "You're going to buy me supper, aren't you?" And I said, "Yep." And then I got the heck out of Dodge because I didn't know where this is going to go.
Yep.
But if you go see the poverty or you go see how people really live in those areas, you learn about them, but you learn about yourself, and
100%.
You're more thankful for where you live.
Amen. Yeah, we were in one of the many jobs I had in the military is we taught the Kenyan Army how to skydive, of all things. And you're of the age, I don't know, your listeners, maybe some of your listeners will for sure remember this. Your younger listeners will probably not, but you remember the jock jams?
Yeah.
Like the CDs you could get. And so we'd load these Kenyan paratroopers on, and they were so small, like they're the smallest humans, and their rucks were so much bigger than they were, and they're terrified. Yeah. I mean, flat terrified. And we'd play that, "Y'all ready for this?" And we'd play it over the speakers in the plane, and they'd start, nodding their heads, and everyone sort of relaxed until we opened the door. Then there was no more relaxing. But as part of that, we weren't on a military base. We were on a part of the airfield that we'd sort of fenced off, sectioned off, living in tents, and we had a hangar as a base. Well, of course, there's 20, 30 of us or something like that, and we had a porta potty. We've all used porta potties. Everyone's been to a festival or a fair or a job site. And I remember the colonel that day said the porta potty guys are coming to clean it out. Make sure to let them in the gate. They'll be here after lunch. No problem. Whatever. Let them in. Guy pulls up in this little Datsun pickup, and 2 guys in the front, 2 guys in the back. And they're just all laughing and BSing and smoking cigarettes and joking and goofing around. Jean shorts, no shoes, no shirt, nothing. Yeah. I mean, it's Kenya in June, July. Well, I thought, oh, well, the big truck's coming, right? Probably stuck in traffic or something. It's hard to get that big truck through. Nope, there's no truck. No truck. I watched this grown man, probably in his 50s, get out with a 5-gallon bucket and a plastic cup. And no gloves, no nothing, no anything. And I remember standing there at the time I'm barely 19, maybe 19, and I'm just slack-jawed watching this man. And I mean, he cleaned every ounce out. And mind you, this is 30 guys that aren't used to the food, the climate, the travel.
Oh, wow.
It's not a good situation.
Yeah.
Well, he goes and he'd take the bucket back to the truck and he'd pour it into this 55-gallon drum in the back. Well, he rummages around in the back of the truck and comes up with a bottle of Lysol. And I'm like, oh, thank God. He's going to dump that on himself, right? Nope. It was for the toilet. So he just took a dry rag and wiped his hand off and dumped the Lysol in there, added water. And he looked at me with a smile and said, "Jumbo," which is goodbye.
Yeah.
And got in his truck and lit a cigarette and left. And I thought, what is happening? Yeah. So we had a Navy SEAL liaison that was with us on that trip. And I couldn't understand the elation. I couldn't understand the happiness. Like, what about this situation would you possibly have to smile about? And I asked the liaison, and he said, oh, he has a job. He's crushing it right now.
Yeah.
And that was my first real world example as a young man from the Midwest. We didn't grow up rich, we going out to Pizza Hut for a birthday was a big deal, or McDonald's, or maybe once a year we'd go to a movie with mom and dad. But I remember spending the rest of the day I convinced myself that I'd never complain about a job again. And then every time I do complain about a job, I'm like, nope, we're gonna turn that into gratitude because I'm not that guy.
Well, and I believe that too. People don't understand that some of the stuff that other people go through.
All perspective.
It is
100%.
Perspective.
Well, and that's there's in the climate of right now what's going on all over the world. Like, it's terrifying. Like I've been in places where bombs were dropped and we were fighting and people were getting killed, and it's terrifying.
Yeah.
And it's to think about, when I came back to the base, I wasn't thinking, am I going to get any sleep tonight? Is this building going to blow up? I'm like, no, I just got a steak dinner and went to bed. But there's people that live that every day, and to have compassion for that and the struggles they go through, whatever that is, just trying to raise children, with no money and no roof over your head or anything like that, it's all perspective.
It is perspective. So let's talk about some good things then.
Oh, they're all good. They're all good things.
They are good because it's perspective, and it's about learning about the world.
Yes, sir.
But I want to know, when did you decide that you wanted to do building outside the lines?
It was really a weird thing, Rick. So never set out to sort of like, man, we're gonna make a TV show. We're gonna make all this content, and I'd sort of done it backwards. A lot of people, sort of start by documenting content and whatever that is, whatever your genre is, and then a lot of people are like, well, the sort of the brass ring is a TV show. So we had just, like I said, I grew up as building with my dad and grandpa, traveled all over the world, saw houses made out of stone and mud and bricks and wood, and just was fascinated by the different techniques. So when I moved back to Spearfish, we actually it took us 4 years to get the permit, but we built the first code-approved straw bale house in the state of South Dakota. And during that process, a couple different production companies had reached out to us, and I sort of blew them off, and I was like, nah, I don't want to do whatever you're offering. No, I'm not buying what you're selling. Mm-hmm. And but about a half a dozen production companies reached out over the course of like 3 years. And I started thinking, well, maybe, can't be just one that thinks what we're doing is kind of unique, and sort of introspectively. And so we ended up agreeing to do a show called Building Off the Grid, which is a long-standing running show. It was on the Discovery Channel. Now it's ironically on the Magnolia Network, which is the network we work for. And we did 2 episodes for them, and to date, we're the 2 highest rated episodes of like 14 seasons or 15 seasons. Huh. And during the very first one, it was a shipping container house, first code-approved shipping container house in the state. The executive producer of that, a woman named Hannah Borrego, and I met. She was the producer on the show, and we became friends. Mm-hmm. And just over dinner one night, we just said, well, what if we came up with an idea for a different kind of TV show? Maybe, no drama, no made up stuff, no yelling, no screaming, no cursing. People watch these shows, and I'm like, tell you what, Rick, if you chuck my $300 torque wrench across the room, you're fired before that thing hits the ground. I got no time for those shenanigans. But yeah, so we had this idea like 8 years ago, or so it was quite a while ago. And it takes a long time to sort of get the wheels under it, and tweaks, and it wasn't the original idea that we had, sort of moved and changed. And because you have to get a production company that believes in what you're doing. You have to get a network that believes in what you're doing and pays literally millions of dollars to, these episodes are hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars each to produce one episode. Mm-hmm. And it's a lot of trust in the beginning that we can deliver, that we're not going to flake out, that we'll actually show up. And the gentleman who owns the production company, a guy named Jim, said in 25 years I was the first talent that he ever worked through that actually followed through on what they said they'd do. He said, everyone will promise you the moon and take the check. Yeah. But then when it comes down to actually delivering what they promised, in the first year we learned a lot. Like it cost me a lot of money the first year. I won't tell you how much, but it was enough. And because we learned, we just didn't know how all the ins and outs worked with sponsors and partnerships and trade outs, and I can't build you half a house, right? Yeah. There's a difference between TV ready and finished. Yeah. Right. You can see on TV, but you can't see that I didn't caulk that window yet. Yeah. Right? Because you just can't see that. Yeah. But I know I didn't caulk the window yet. Yeah. I can't leave you an uncaulked window. Mm. So there's a lot of those things as we sort of grew through the 3 seasons that we've had so far. It was really my job to educate the production company on how to build things. And it was their job to educate me on how to make a TV show. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah. Well,
how'd you come up with the name?
So the name was workshopped. There was a whole bunch of different names. One of the original names was Cappie and the Kid. Alex is like, I want to be the kid. And then, of course, we discussed, well, pretty soon she's not going to be a kid. right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that she's 17 now, going to leave for college soon. And so the building outside the lines is the one there was 3 or 4, I can't remember what they were, but we all got to sit down in a room and sort of talk about the merits. What I like about the name is, sort of building outside the lines covers a lot of things. Originally, one of the major networks that talked to us about a show wanted us to build full-size houses. And I said, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
We don't have the crew. I don't want the headache. Most people don't realize the show doesn't pay for the builds. They pay for some of the things that go into it, but it's nowhere near the amount of money we need. And that's where partners and trade outs and sort of all the tool equipment stuff we get, local businesses we work with. And so there's a lot of ballet that has to happen. So sometimes the clients have money, sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
We did a project for a single mom, and she didn't have any money, but I didn't need her to have any money because we did a job for another guy who had money, and we just sort of crossed him over. So.
Well, I don't have any money, but maybe you could do a Don't Die Rusty studio.
Don't do it. That'd be pretty sweet. I like it. It is pretty sweet. I want to see you carrying that flag with you though when you're hiking.
Well, you will. I've taken it up top.
Nice.
Before, yeah. So, but on to that, it takes a lot of imagination of what you're doing too.
It does. It's been really fun. So a lot of people, they ask this on our social stuff is, so we design every build. Like it'll come from my head and the kid, and then we drag Ruby into it, and Dustin and David and sort of the other crew once we get down to it. But it's like, let's make something out of an airplane fuselage. Cool. Where do you get an airplane fuselage, right? Do some scouring, do some internet searching, whatever. Like, let's do something out of an old water tank or this or that. Or what do you do with this old tank? Well, we could turn it into a hot tub. We could turn it into a hangout. We could turn it into whatever. And we've got some really cool projects that we're going to be doing this summer. We're doing another thing with a grain bin, which is going to be pretty exciting. And there's also one, it's called apiary therapy. So they've done a lot of research, especially with vets, right? That bees, the sound, the vibration, the harmonics, the smell of bees and working with bees, does amazing things for all your business, your mental health and things. So this is basically this little cabin that has benches in it that you lay down on. Well, under the benches, there's bees. Like the beehives are underneath, essentially under the floor. And they're accessed from the outside, so there's no bees. Everyone freaks out about this.
Yeah.
There's no bees in the building with you, but you get all the benefits of being next to them and around them. And so we're working with a client in the Southern Hills with that one. So yeah, it's just I love it. I just love solving problems, and the more creative we can be, and the more we can push the envelope of construction and design and engineering. Like we did this Gabion building, so the cages with the rocks in them. So I've built fences, I've built the carport legs and things, but I wanted to see if I could build a building out of it. And I'd had the concept for a long time, but I hadn't had a client yet. Yeah. And this young woman named Cheyenne, we built a leather studio for her about 2 hours east of here. And I said, can I try this? And she's like, I don't care. I'm like, perfect. So that's, having clients and stuff that are willing and trust us to do these sort of off-the-wall things is also a pretty cool gift.
Well, that is. Like Don't Die Rusty is about chasing your dreams and being the best you and doing all that stuff. And that's why I like, first of all, it takes imagination. It takes guts to jump into this.
Sure.
Because if you don't jump into this with both feet, then you're trying to hold on with one leg or an arm, you're not giving it your all.
Yep. Amen. Yeah, absolutely. And that was part of the terrifying part is for a long time I was a custom home builder and I couldn't do both. I can't take the time allocated to actually give my clients the attention and things they need to build them a home and then be a host, a producer, a showrunner, all the things, all the hats we wear on this side of it. And then, of course, we have our resort north of town that we run too. And I have an amazing team that runs, 90% of that. But, yeah, it is. You got to I don't know, can I say the S word on your podcast? Yeah. Shit or get off the pot. Yeah. Go for it. There's so many people that are, I'm gonna one day, shoulda, coulda, woulda. Go, dude. Just go. I had some buddy of mine, reminds me a little bit of you. This was a couple summers ago. He's here from Colorado, and we're just sort of sitting down, BS, and having dinner, and I was telling him about all these, I'm doing this, I got this, and I got this, and I got to do this, and I got to go here, and I got to do this. And he looked at me and he says, well, I mean, you got like 30 summers left, whatever decide what to do with them. And I said, what? And he goes, well, you're almost 50. He goes, life expectancy for a dude in the United States is 78. He goes, you got less than 30 summers left.
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to do with them? And that hit me like a sack of bricks.
Mm-hmm.
And I have traveled very well, and I've been all over the world, and I love what I do, and I choose my path every day. But that was a really sort of sobering 30 more summers, 30 more summer vacations, 30 more, summer trips, or going to the lake, or whatever you do. And so that's what I really like about your message and what you're doing, and of course your posts and stuff. Just, man, I tell you what, I feel like such a schlub when I get your post in the morning and it's 7 degrees and you're up on the top of Crow Peak, and I'm like, I could walk to work today. Actually, I could walk to work today.
Well, I believe that you need, for the world to be a better place, and then this is what I like about you, Cappie, is that we are both similar in the fact that you hardly ever see us in a bad mood. And the
Yes.
reason I think I said this the other day, I think some days maybe I need to fake it, and sometimes I need to act in a good mood. But most of the time I put myself in a good mood.
Sure.
You wake up in the morning, there's good things happening because you woke up. But if you go to work angry, or if you go to work or go wherever angry, it doesn't help anybody else out. So I and I get up, and those are my thinking times when I get up hiking.
Yep.
And it's interesting that, when I met you, actually that was when I was doing my 100 and I was coming down the mountain and you guys were going up.
Yep. Yeah, it's wild. Yeah, the mood thing is interesting. Like I get that question a lot. Is like, 'cause if you ask me, hey, how's it going? I'm like, best day ever.
Yeah.
That's my thing, best day ever.
Yeah.
And I had a lady one time at the bank. She was like, is it really?
Mm-hmm.
Sort of little grouchy pants. And I said, well, ma'am, I'm like, here's the deal. There's someone my age this morning, somewhere in this world, woke up, and his sole purpose, whole day, the only thing he needed to do was find drinking water for his family. Do anything past that, I'm killing it, right? I woke up in a house that was heated. I woke up next to a beautiful woman who's healthy and who still loves me. My daughter's safe. My parents are healthy and happy. I had food in the refrigerator and gas in the truck. And I think it really does come back to perspective, and not to confuse that with I'm never in a bad mood, right? Things don't go my way, or I'm stressed out, and that stress bleeds over in other things. But it's a conscious choice every day, right? I can find 1,000 things to be pissed off about, but what does it serve? Who does it serve? It doesn't serve the people around you. Sure doesn't serve you and all of your, biochemical things, serotonin and stuff that you want that's good. So for me, it is a choice to get up every day and sort of recognize the blessings that I've had and the gift that I've been given. And some of that is self-imposed, right? I decide that I'm fortunate. I decide every day that I'm grateful. Rachel and I, my wife Rachel, every single night, no matter what, if we're together, if she's on travel, I'm on travel, we do something called nines. So I learned this, I don't even know where I saw it somewhere online, but every night we tell each other 3 things we're grateful for, 3 things we're excited about, and 3 things we're manifesting. And, some of your listeners maybe, sort of roll their eyes, but I tell you what, manifestation is a real thing. I rolled my eyes when I was young. I'm like, whatever woo-woo garbage that is, and you can't just will things into existence. You can. You can change how you feel about things. You can change how you look at things. And whether you're a glass is half full or a glass is half empty kind of guy.
Well, I'm writing this down because I want to come back to a few things too. But it's funny because I just talked to Dr. Jensen on my last episode. He moved to Boise,
Sure.
But we're talking about manifestation. We were talking about frequency. We were talking about karma.
Mm-hmm.
Which we will go into that. But I want to go back because I also believe in attitude, like you were talking earlier.
Yep.
And the attitude is, here's the deal. there are somebody in that's not going to wake up tomorrow morning.
100%.
And there's also somebody that's going to have someone they really truly love not wake up tomorrow morning.
Yep.
And if you wake up tomorrow morning and all's good, why you shouldn't have a bad attitude then?
Nope.
And that's my theory too. And the other one was, I mean, I said, do you know Olivia Jacobs?
Mm-hmm.
Olivia, I did a couple weeks ago.
Fun.
And she gave me an analogy, and we were talking about attitude. And it's like, so there's two smokers. Well, there's one smoker, and there's two that just quit a week before.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And then the smoker says, do you want a cigarette to the first person? He says, nope, I'm 7 days without a cigarette. The second one said, I'm not a smoker.
Yeah.
It's all about attitude.
Sure. And perspective.
Perspective. Yep. And actually, it's funny that we were just talking about manifestation, because I'm just about done with it, but I'm reading The Lost Laws of Manifestation.
Okay. Yep.
And I believe in a lot of stuff that people might think is, because we were talking about frequency too. If you're putting karma, manifestation, and frequency all go into the same spot, because I think good karma gives you good things.
Mm-hmm.
I believe when you're manifesting and you have good thoughts and you're aligning yourself, because in the book it said, you may not see what you're manifesting, but this lady wanted this one job, and she was she was not going to settle until she had that job. But then she decided, I'm going to take this other job, and it ended up going to the job that she really wanted in the end.
Yep.
But it's aligning yourself with attitude. Sure. It's aligning yourself with positivity, and not having a bad attitude. And we talked about this is where I can step into this and kind of go into, all right, you're doing a TV show, and we're not in a huge town.
Sure.
And how do you handle the jealousy or the whispers, the thoughts, that damn Cappie?
Sure.
Who does he think he is?
Right.
He's Mr. I'm on Facebook and I'm on Instagram. Well, I am too.
Sure.
But here's the deal. We chose to be there.
Sure.
You aren't, and there should never be any whispers from people that don't understand the whole situation.
Well, yes, and that's a fair question. It's been, I think some of it too is, again, it goes back to an attitude of, I doubt most people can trace it back to this exact time, but I can tell you the exact date and time and who I was talking to when I decided I didn't give a shit about what people thought of me anymore. So I told my daughter when she was very young, I said, what people think of you is none of your business. And I believe that. And here's the thing, and it's karma. And you said it a second ago, is the fascinating thing about putting stuff out on, sort of in public, whether that's the TV show or Instagram or YouTube or whatever it is. There's people in other countries that know intimate details about me. They know that I'm struggling with my daughter's going to college, and that's hard for me. That's hard for me, that as a dad, to say, did I teach her enough things to be safe and to be, I know she's smart and I know she's strong and brave, but I'm like, well, should I put her in jiu-jitsu when she was 10? Should we have done one more handgun training class? Should we go out and practice with the pepper spray again? The things that as a protector and a father. But I think as far as what people think of me, I generally, it doesn't bother me. It really doesn't. And I know people try to say that as sort of, I don't care what you think of me, I got nothing but love, man. Like, part of the show, what I committed to myself to doing is bringing up people around me. We've had so many my friends, contractors, local businesses, other businesses on the show that they've brought with us. We've built these projects for people that didn't have to pay for them, right? So we're doing, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 projects for these people that are free for them, and that's something that I can do. Right. And I don't know how long I'm going to do this. I don't have a crystal ball. They could call tomorrow and say, nope, you're done. Yeah. We're not doing the show anymore. And I'm going to square my hat and keep moving. So,
Yeah, but you have a YouTube channel that's probably going to take off.
We do okay. Well, and the diversification of it, and I do one of the things about my job that is very cool is I get to bring people happiness. There are some haters. There's always going to be haters or people that just want to say something. A guy said the thing you call a telehandler is called a telescopic forklift.
I only know it as a telehandler myself.
Okay, like thanks, Steve.
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do with that, right? So, or like some people will be like, oh, just a bunch of rich white people building stuff for other rich white people.
Yeah.
I got nothing, bro. I got nothing for that, and I don't engage in it. But really, it is a karma thing. I try to bring up as many people as I can with me. I try to enhance as many people's lives, and at the end of the day, the content that we produce, whether it's YouTube or the TV show, makes people happy, and that's a cool job.
And that's why I do this.
Sure.
That's why I put out all the positive posts in the world. Sometimes I don't put out all positive posts because I think you need to know that maybe I'm having a bad day, but I'm going to get through it because most of this, I'm up at 4:55 to go out on these hikes or walks or whatever. Actually, if I'm going to climb Crow Peak, then this time of the year it's going to get 3 a.m. and to beat the sun. But people need to learn that putting a smile on people's faces is more important to this world in this day and age than it's ever been.
100%. Well, and that's sort of bringing love and light to the world in whatever capacity. I don't care if that's, I trained Alex when she was very young. I said, compliment one person a day. It takes nothing. No, I mean, inconsequential. It'll take you 5 seconds to deliver the compliment, right? But watch what they do. So she'd see a little old lady at the bank and she'd be like, I love your necklace. And oh my gosh, this little 75, 80-year-old lady just light up. Mm-hmm. That a young girl commented her, or I like your shoes, or I like your hair, or whatever it is. And it's not disingenuous and people sort of thing, but it's obviously that person put some time into that outfit. She thought about that necklace with that blouse, with that shoes, and honoring that thoughtfulness because she got up and she didn't come out of the house in sweatpants and tore up, SpongeBob SquarePants pajamas and slippers in the snow and zero given about how they look. So I think giving it out into the world in whatever form or fashion, in positive posts, Instagram posts that you do, and or building something whimsical and fun for a family, for their kids, and there's a lot of ways to deliver happiness. And I agree with you. I think it's more important than ever.
It is
these days.
It is, and we all do it in a different way. It's people that don't understand that you need to do that. They just don't. I don't understand people that are in a cranky mood all the time.
Sure.
Or they're too busy to help somebody out. Mm-hmm. They are so encompassed in themselves that they won't help somebody else out. And you're helping people when you're building. I'm hopefully helping people spirit-wise if they're down. I mean, I've had a few calls and messages and texts and that you got me through the day.
Yep. That's a big deal, dude.
That is a big deal. And and when you think about this stuff, and I don't know if people on here do, but when you do one good thing for one person, that could be for 10. Mm-hmm. Because who's in this family? And if, I've had people, I've done episodes about myself where I was in some fairly dark places, and I've had a few texts and messages that said, I was tasting gunmetal and you saved my life because I thought of you. And think of how many people that affects.
Yeah, so many. And I think that's the thing that's sort of under talked about is, be careful my political line I walk here, but it's this idea of connection. We've arguably never been more connected sort of through social media and podcasts and things like that, but objectively never so disconnected. Mm-hmm. Read a thing the other day that teen pregnancies are down. Okay. We'll probably all agree that that's probably a pretty positive thing. Yeah. The reason they're down is because kids aren't talking to each other. They're texting each other. Yep. They're sending pictures they shouldn't be sending to each other because it's safer. It's for them. It's like I don't have to actually put myself out there and I don't have to be vulnerable and open. And I think that goes for especially young men. You know, you and I are similar age and grew up in the similar setting, and I think that for me is a thing about like, you know, especially for young men, it's a real confusing time for young men.
Mm.
They don't know if they can be like they maybe feel and they want to be men and they don't and they get, you know, but don't like, but do I open the car door for a girl? Is that okay?
Mhm.
My dad told me to, but then I got weird looks if I did it, and so it's a real weird thing. And I think a lot of that can be sort of really heavy, especially as you get older and you start being the caregiver and taking care of a family and being part of a family. And there's not a lot of places, especially men can turn to, I think, to hear other positive men say, "Hey, man, I see you, I love you, and I appreciate you. You got this. Just square your shoulders up, man. You got this. I'm
Mhm.
paying attention. I'm watching." And just that, like you said, someone in a real dark place thinking about maybe punching the ticket, remember something you said, like, dude, if you just did that one time in your whole life, the, you won.
You did.
You as a human being, you won. And to be able, like you said, that affected that person's partner, children, mother, father, best friend, coworker, little league kids that he coaches.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the absolute ripple effect that that positive message can have is huge, and I think that's underestimated.
And we actually talk about this a lot. Is the ripple effect? And do you
Hmm.
want to be? Do you want to be the rock or do you want to be the ripple?
I love it.
You know,
Yep.
because you can be the rock that just sinks to the bottom of the lake,
Yep.
or you can be the ripple that it just keeps on going and going and going
Sure.
and being good. And there are a lot of people out there, a lot of like you said, men, and that's where I don't. When you were talking before that you don't care, I don't care,
Yep.
and I want people to see. You know what? I've been in some bad mental places because I was down and out, and I've clawed out of this hole.
Sure.
Like I try to be as transparent as I can, and maybe funny sometimes because I'm
Sure.
in a, you know, I don't know how to do this, but in I want people to know that everybody has to go through things,
Yep.
or they do go through it. And when you go through the hard things, then you don't realize sometimes it's actually making you get to that next point, and then the next point.
Well, and I think the thing too is you got to consider that if you're listening to this podcast and you know you've gotten through a hard day, you're 100% success rate,
Yeah.
right? Like if you've made it through that, you're batting 1,000
Yeah.
on this situation. And I think that's really sort of the thing that I think one of the things I admire about what you're doing, and you know, because it does take some, you know, I know you don't care what people think, but bravery is still bravery,
Mm-hmm.
right? It takes, you know, and there's a lot of this, same thing with the TV show. Like you know, the producer and I have disagreements about how some stuff is filmed sometimes and or what's shown and what's not shown. And for me, it takes a lot of guts to sort of put it out there in front of God and everybody and open yourself up for judgment,
Mm-hmm.
whether that's positive or negative. And but at the end of the day, like I go to bed when I lay my head down, like I know that I was a good husband today. I know I was a good dad today. I know I was a good friend today. And you know that's it. And we're all doing the best we can with what we got. And but really, yeah, just I wish there was more connection in the world of like literal one-on-one and that kind of thing. And we do for the show, we do a fan day every year in July out at the resort where people can come and there's a big barbecue and you get to meet the cast and crew and you know buy the merch and sort of
Yeah.
we all get to like be in the same space
Yeah.
together because you know people come from Texas or New York or
Mm-hmm.
Germany or whatever it is. And so that's really fun to have that connection. I wish we could do more of those, but yeah, I think it's a thing that's missing. You know, there used to be the Central Fair, you know, or the county fair was the biggest to do of the whole summer,
Mm-hmm.
and boy, everyone got together and they got their cool clothes on and they got dudded up and went dancing and eating good food, and now we're so sort of desensitized with, you know, every 3 hours there's something going on special or different or you know whatever. But
Well, it's also interesting in the fact that we both have wives and they're not always in the spotlight.
Right.
Because they choose not to. I know, Cindy, this is
Mm-hmm.
my deal.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know about your deal, but
Yep.
they'll be in it. They'll be seen. Although
Yep.
I'm a little disappointed in you.
Uh-oh.
Yep, that one post you did when you were walking from and she falls down. You're doing what the world?
Okay.
I'm just giving you.
Okay. So what Rick's talking about is the other night I did an Instagram post about walking back from dinner, and I'm, of course, got the phone out and I'm doing my own happy hero moment video, selfie video, and my wife slipped on the ice, and oh my gosh, I was like, but she got up so fast, and because of the whole thing. Well, anyway, I said in that video, I better redo this video, and I did redo the video, and then we got home, and Rachel says, "Let me see the video," and it was really funny, and she's like, "You should post that one. It's fun. It's funnier." But yeah, Rachel is my absolute keel of a partner. I outkicked my coverage so much with her, and really, go back to our gratitude conversation is, when I met Alex, she was 6 years old. Mm-hmm.
Like,
Rachel was newly divorced, and it was really confusing for her and for Alex and sort of everyone as it is for everyone that goes through that. And I was also recently divorced at the time, and but no children. So for her to trust me with her daughter, her only child, to be part of raising her, to be part of educating her, to influence her as a man, and what does a stepfather figure look like? And that was one of the things with the show that was so overwhelming. And this wasn't part of the show, it wasn't part of the idea, but the amount of step parents, both mother and father, that reached out to us and said, thank you for showing the world that we do care as much as if that child was mine biologically. But Rachel is there for every part of it. So she is involved in every single episode. You just don't see her behind the camera. Her and Alex, so Alex does some design stuff, and her and Rachel get together, and then Rachel gets to talk about, well, your budget is actually this, and then her and mom and we have a couple other crew that work. We call it the staging crew, that literally take a box truck and go out and collect all the furniture and all the stuff and all the plants and all the vases and cups and candles and you name it.
Yeah.
And so Rachel loves doing that. She's always like that, but she has no need or desire to be in front of the camera. She will when when we film the video and stuff. But yeah, it's pretty magical.
It is, because like I said, Cindy's not. She'll be in front of it every once in a while. When I've done a few posts where I just surprise her. Like, I'm just pull out the phone and I start doing it, and whoa, what? Yeah, I wasn't even ready. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But now I don't do that as much as I used to, because I thought that was really, really funny. But now but
it's kind of funny.
It is kind of funny. But like you said, she is my rock, actually, and she's my biggest supporter.
Sure.
You saw her. She's just come on in, and I'm in here, and I appreciate that we have strong supporting wives.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that's the other thing too, is the team, everyone's team is your partner, whoever that is we all, I told my daughter when she was much younger, I said, this idea of, this person completes me. No. Mm-mm. You're 100%, they're 100%, together you're 200%. Yep. This is not a you're 50, they're 50, and together. It's, when Rachel's having a tough day or something at work, I carry it, right? When I'm having a tough day, long day shooting, long day filming, I'm hot, I'm tired, I know I'm only going to get 4 hours of sleep tonight because I got to be on the road, she carries it, right? And, we've been together for just over 10 years, and that for me is that in a relationship, and that goes for best friends too, that goes for buddies that you play soccer with, that goes for your hunting friends, is when you're having a bad day, I bet you got some people you can call.
Yep.
And hey, you want to go walk, take a hike with me? I just want to.
Yep.
I want to vent a little bit. Yeah, hell yeah, dude. Let's go. Let's get a couple root beers and hit it. So that I think was where that connection thing is so important for people in the world. And I do think it's cool because there's people listening to your podcast, there's fans of your stuff that aren't here geographically, but they look forward to your content. They look forward to hearing your message, and that's a responsibility not to take lightly.
No, so. and you have to realize that too.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes people don't understand the responsibility of what you are doing.
Sure.
In that aspect.
And even intentional or not, right? There's fans of yours that will hang on every single word you say and take it as gospel, and you have to think about that on the show. It's wild. Like, people will be like, "Hey, what pants are you wearing?" I'm like, "I'm sorry, what?" I don't know. When, right? Or where'd you get that? Or what tool was that? Or, hey, why do you like that? Why did you buy that? Tell me about that trailer. Tell me about that truck. Do you like? And people, they want that. In marketing, we call it a trust bridge, but they want that sort of guidance from someone that they trust. And I think I'm very proud of what we've done for the show, because there's, as a builder, like an actual builder, I was a builder before there was a TV show. I'm going to be a builder after there's a TV show. And to have another builder, another tradesperson reach out to me or see me at the World of Concrete show or Con Expo or wherever we go and say, "Hey man, I love your show." Well, that's a big deal.
That is
because,
big deal.
I'm sure you watch hunting shows and go, "What? Oh, hell no. That is not what happened. They just showed the guy looking through a scope that wasn't on the rifle that he was holding." Right?
Yeah.
And now you're like, I'm over it. So there is great responsibility, and especially with the young generation that watches the show. Sprout has this, and she, doesn't even fully grasp that she has this, is there's young kids that, like, we get pictures from parents of kids sitting on the floor in front of the television set with the show in the background, and the kids got blocks, or like the Lincoln Logs and the things, or paper, because they're drawing when we're drawing. And you're like, what? Like, little Johnny in Memphis wants to do what be Cappie, or little Sarah in Texas wants to be just like Sprout.
Yep.
When she grows up. And so there is a responsibility to it, whether you like it or not. There's a responsibility to it. And I think there's a lot of content creators, podcasters, social media people that maybe don't understand that they have that much sort of power over influence of people.
Well, I believe that I've always said this. I will cheer you on, whoever you are. And I don't care if we don't get along at times. I'll cheer you on to be successful, because your success makes the world a better place too. Even though we may not get along, whoever that would be, but I'm cheering you on.
Sure.
And that's just the way I am anymore. I admit we all grow through things, we have to grow up.
Right.
And when you realize that life is short, don't take everything so seriously. Cheer people on. You may not see eye to eye, like you said with communication. In days past, you could have political conversations on both sides of the fence, and you could argue with each other and still be friends, and go have adult beverage if you wanted, or do whatever you want to, and you didn't take it personal. Now it's different now, but I think someday we maybe can get back to it.
I think we can. But that takes people like yourself putting out stuff like this and being, sort of as cliche as it is, being the change, right? You want to see. And, that's the other thing about, like, complimenting someone or cheering someone on. What did it cost you?
Yep.
What did it cost you to text that person or to comment on this podcast or whatever and say, "Hey man, love what you're doing"? Nothing, a couple words, easy peasy.
Yeah.
And same thing, cheering them on. Your success, because I've been asked this a lot, like not from the TV show stuff, but just from a builder, is every builder in this town knows each other.
Oh yeah, that's where I was going with.
I got everyone's cell phone. Listen, I'm not mad at you that you got a cool big, $1 million job, dude. High five, bro.
Yeah.
Because that's going to feed your family. That's going to make your world go around. It doesn't take away from what I'm doing. It doesn't cost me anything. Just because you got that job doesn't mean I won't get a job. It doesn't affect the trajectory of my day or my career. And I think that's something, I think people, unfortunately, I think there is some human trait that's sort of misery loves company. And that's a saying for a reason.
It is.
But I also think I firmly believe, you talked about sort of energy and alignment, is you're the sum of the 5 people you hang out with. You are the sum of the 5 people you hang out with on a daily basis. If you hang out with people that are negative, that are shit talkers, that are gossiping and negative, guess what? So are you, bro. If you hang out with people that are lifting you up and trying to build you up and give you advice and say, hey, man, hey, do this, or hey, this really worked out for me. Like, I know you're struggling with this. This is how I found to help me through that or grow through that. And you're that person. Because once you get lifted up, when we got this TV show, when we got sort of the notoriety on YouTube, is I was allowed to bring other people with me by my choice, right? I could have gate kept everything. No, I don't want you. I don't want you on screen. It's my TV show, right? And what does that do for me?
Yeah,
nothing. But my buddies being on the show, and it's just all fun. My funniest one is when they message and ask if Ruby's single, and he gets all flustered, flustered about it. And we went to a show in Chicago, and we went to Night Out as a party for the event, and it was at the House of Blues in Chicago.
Yeah.
And Ruby, and if you guys don't know who Ruby is, Ruby's a friend of ours, but he's on the show, and if you just watch any of the episodes, this story will make sense. But he wore overalls to the House of Blues.
I can believe that.
It totally did. And but the ladies were hitting on it. And it was so funny. And he's genuinely confused. He's like, I don't know. I said, bro, it's the overalls. Like, and I just realized, well, the next night we went out. No, he's like, oh, maybe Cappie's right. Maybe the overalls are the problem. He wore Wranglers and a damn buckle. I'm like, oh no, you went the wrong direction, cowboy. These Chicago girls don't know what to do with an actual cowboy. And oh my gosh, I love Ruby so much. He's but he's another one that is always happy.
Yes,
he's always positive. He's been through some dark stuff, and losing his dad, and his brother-in-law years and years ago was in a really bad accident that paralyzed him, put him in a wheelchair. And he's an EMT. He's seen some gnarly stuff as a nurse and a paramedic. But he chooses to be happy. He chooses to, sort of go through the world with love and light, and he'll be the first guy to help you with anything you need help with. And
you have one of the nicest people in the world right there.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. He called me tonight. He says, hey, you need to trim your chicken's wings because they're flying out of your chicken coop. And I was like, oh, okay. He goes, we'll be there at 7. Bring some scissors. I'm like, oh, we're doing that in the morning. Okay. Copy that. And they're not his chickens. He doesn't even live there. But he identified a problem, and he's going to help fix it.
Well, I have a question since we're talking about Ruby. How come you drive to Las Vegas, you drive to Indianapolis, you drive most of these places, not fly?
Yeah, I've been asked that question before. 2 reasons. The main one is I have control issues. No, I'm kidding.
You're in the passenger seat, though.
It's so great, dude. It's such a solid system. Ruby gets sick if he doesn't drive.
Yeah.
And he's a beast. So he'll straight shot it. Vegas was, if I go with him, because I flew from New York, we were at the Emmys in New York, so I flew in, he drove in. He got there in 13 hours. If I'm in the truck, it's like 16 because I have a bladder the size of a walnut, and I want to stop for licorice and snacks.
Yeah,
and he's just like, he's at a granola bar and a cup of water and sea in Nevada. But a lot of what it is so the show and the projects that we work on, it's the project management of them way beyond like a normal house, right? If I just come in and want to build this for you, you and I talk about the details of the great. But with the show, not only do I have to have every detail sorted out, I have to have every partner lined up, who's providing lumber, who's providing shingles, who's providing concrete, and I have to have the shot list. So we have to, okay, we're going to film with the drone, we're going to do this, we're going to, get these cameras, this camera. So it's basically 3 layers to the same job. So when we're stuck in a pickup truck together for 16 hours, boy, a lot of stuff gets hashed out because neither of us can go anywhere. and we're not distracted. We're not doing
Yep.
anything. So we're talking, I'm writing, I'm emailing, I'm making phone calls. We'll call this guy, line this sub up. Hey, does this work for you? What if we want to start mid-May? Great. We'll just need the concrete by end of April. And then we just go through the project. So that's the easiest way we found to do it than us sitting in a conference room, like cross-eyed, trying to make it happen.
Well, I believe that because I've talked about that before too. Like, there's nothing like Cindy and I go on trips and either you have to talk or jump out of the car if you don't want to, you know. But I mean, you have that conversation.
Yep.
You have different conversations.
Yep, connection, real
And
connection. Yep.
you and I can understand why, because there's other things that just pop into your head when it's kind of like hiking too. You're driving down the road and that you see something over there, like you could see a building while you're driving down the road and say, we could do that, but
Yep.
just a little bit different.
100%. Yeah, see Highline Tower. Alex wants to do something out of a Highline Tower, those big latticed Highline Towers. So yeah, and we do. We talk about a lot of different sort of details of the builds, and it's just a different level of connection and sort of, because he's, Ruby's his own contractor. He's got his own projects and his own stuff going on in his life, so he's running 100 miles an hour, and I'm running 100 miles an hour. And a lot of it is management of partners. People like to sort of eye roll on these social platforms about like, well, clearly Milwaukee gave you those tools. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
They did. Right. But what people don't realize is, well, yes, Milwaukee gave me those tools, but what value do I bring Milwaukee?
Yeah.
Right. So there's a lot of those sort of relationships, and that's why we go to the shows we meet partners. We call it the hand waving tour.
Yeah.
And you go in the booth and you take pictures and you sign autographs and you do the things you do. And it's just a lot of fun, because then you get to see other tradespeople from all over the world. And, hey, we love what you're doing. Or, hey, can I take a picture for my kid? My kid's a big fan. And, we'll take their phone and I'll do a video for their kid or something. And, so it's a sort of a fun system. But we spend about 6 months planning to film and about 6 months filming.
Is it 6 months filming?
It's about that by the time we do all the pre-stuff, and we hit it really, really hard for about 4.5 months.
That's where I was going with that. Because, I mean, I've been a little bit around some of the stuff, but I thought it was like, you have 4 hard months.
We have 4 months that are absolutely bonkers. Like, we work 15 hours a day, 7 days a week. Yeah. For 4 months straight, no breaks. Mm-hmm. Like, no days off, which is why I have such an amazing staff, because, like, my Candace, our general manager out at the resort, who's our unicorn, I won't answer my phone. I won't have my phone on me, whatever, while I'm working. And I'll see your car pull up, and she'll just walk right into set, just with whatever. And she's like, sign this, whatever. I need this, do this. Hey, later you need to call so and so, whatever. And I'm like, cool, thanks, high five. Yeah. And she'll leave. But about a month before is all like the pre-scouting stuff and drone shots and B-roll, and then a month afterward is all the voiceovers and the pickup lines and that we record in a studio similar to this, separate, because I narrate the show. So we'll put the show together and then say, okay, I need 7.5 seconds of Cappie talking about welding or driving or his dad or his daughter or whatever it is. Yeah. A lot of production that goes into it. We have a 15-person film crew literally in Spearfish, boots on the ground, and then another 15 back in LA that does all the post media stuff, post-production stuff.
Well, and we hadn't got to this, but we should talk about shortgrass. You should tell people what shortgrass is about.
It's magical. Yeah, so shortgrass is short for Shortgrass Resort. So Rachel and I years ago bought 50 acres on the Redwater River, just north of Spearfish. And we had lots of different ideas to do with it. We were just going to build a house out there and have a greenhouse and live on 50 acres and no one bother us. Yeah. And but again, like, bringing people joy is something that Rachel and I really enjoy. And so what we decided to do is build this resort. It has 8 little bungalows we had custom made for us in the Netherlands and shipped over. And they all have in-floor heat, tiled showers, bidets, air conditioning. They're nicer than any house I've ever lived in, and I've built my last 2 houses. And we have a farm-to-table restaurant called Meander out there. There's a 2,400 square foot botanical greenhouse on property. So the chef literally walks to the greenhouse and pulls things out of it for dinner. Big 30,000 gallon in-ground heated pool with a giant deck, and we have a 1.25 mile private river, and it's just amazing. But it's only literally 5 miles from Spearfish, about 15 minutes. And yeah, it's awesome.
Yes, I got lucky when you were building it. You took me on a few tours. We walked into Meander,
Yeah.
and then I just walked around. You let me walk around, and it's a wonderful place. It's
Have you been out there for supper yet?
no.
Oh, we have to have you out for supper.
Yes.
It'll ruin you.
I bet it will.
It will. It's like 6-course chef's tasting menu, so it changes every day. So the chef, whatever's in season, whatever he decides, and and it's incredible. You never know what you're going to get until you sit down.
Well, that's awesome.
It's pretty awesome.
It would be, and like Cindy would love to see it.
I love it.
And we've talked about it going out, and I said, well we'll talk to Cappie sometime and come out and see it.
Yeah.
But I think if you want to get away, the thing I like about where Shortgrass is you are in the mountains, but you see the mountains, but you still can here. My biggest thing in the mornings is a sunrise, and you get a sunrise right there.
Sunrises are awesome. We actually positioned all the bungalows to see the sunrise, so they all have private decks, and we're out right on the ecotone we're on the northern part of the Black Hills, but the river valley. So the cool thing is we have all the water birds, all the things you could think of. We have all the deer. We have whitetail. We have muley. We have mountain lion down there. We have bobcat. We have marmots. We have all the magpies. They're fun to watch. But so we're a really diverse sort of nature space. And really what it is, who we built it for, is people that really wanted to be part of the American West still and come out to the Dakotas. But I don't like, nothing against everyone's kids. I like my kid. But so it's child free. No one under 18 is allowed on property. And that was because, let's say you and Cindy come out and you want a nice event or a meal or a dinner or stay, and we don't want some 10-year-old sitting next to you throwing a fit because there's no chicken strips on the menu. But really what it's been able to serve is we do what are called buyouts. So you rent the whole place out for weddings, anniversaries, corporate parties, bachelorette parties, all the things. And it's just private. We've rented to, we've had A-list people stay there. And if you don't have the code to the gate, you're not coming in.
Yep.
And so it actually is a secluded private place to stay. And really it's just a concierge level thing. Like it's all white glove. We know things about you before you get there, and we know if you have a preferred cocktail or if you have a preferred meal or if there's any dietary restrictions, you name it. Well, and it's really just about what do you need as the guest, and we provide that.
Well, and like I said, I've seen what you've done out there, and I think it's a wonderful place.
Thank you. Yeah, we got big plans for it. We're just getting warmed up.
Well, I hear that. So, no, usually, I mean, we've talked here an hour, and the problem with us, we could talk for 2 or 3. It doesn't matter. I was
actually sitting here thinking a little bit ago, I'm like, I wonder how long he runs these for. How much editing does he need?
Well, I usually, the conversation's usually good. Depends upon stuff, but I know you got things to do, but I always ask one last question before we end.
Yeah, let's have it.
And it's, what's the good life to Cappie?
What's the good life?
And I think it's ever changing, but what's a good life right now?
It is. Flexibility. Literally right before I came here today, my wife, we have an office building in Spearfish, and she called down from her upper story there, and she says, I got the camper van for Australia booked. I said, cool. We've been working on this Australia trip. This fall, we're going to be gone for a couple months, and it's our last continent together. Rachel and I together have been to 100-something countries, and but the flexibility to what I do in my life and my work and how I've structured it is I can rent a camper van in Australia, pick it up in Sydney, and drive 5,000 miles
to Perth.
And we're not going to Perth. We're gonna go up down through the middle, like Ayers Rock and that. So we talked about Perth. We talked about taking the train over to Perth. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think that would be the definition of for me is I'm flexible to do, and I have the means to do things I want to do that bring me happiness and my adventure and my travel. And 2 years ago we were in Antarctica, and that was a big trip, sort of a bucket list kind of trip. And we both love traveling and seeing things and experiencing things. And yeah, that's what it is for me now. Anyway.
Well, that's awesome. I love that's, I mean, that's one thing I would love to do with Cindy. I mean, I've lived in Australia, so
Oh, cool.
that's why I kind of perked up there,
Oh,
because
interesting.
I do love Australia.
Oh, cool. We'll have to talk about that offline.
Yeah.
Got questions.
Because I think there are people out there, like we were talking earlier, there are people out there that go to the inclusive resort, they don't see life.
Yep.
And here, for me, this is traveling, is going into that little pub or going to that little grocery store or going to seeing the real people.
Sure.
And when that's how communication starts, because there are too many people out there that I can look and see everybody's real.
Yep.
You can go, you've been to many cultures and,
Sure.
and stuff, but in the end, we're all the same.
We're all the same. 100%. Yeah, you're talking about culture, like, because you're a hunter. And I thought about, we were in Ireland years ago, and the whole group was in the pub. I don't drink, and the kid obviously doesn't drink. So we stopped by to tell mom that we were going to walk 2 miles down to the gas station and get an ice cream. And walk in, and above the fireplace in this pub, there's this real strange looking, never seen anything like it before. Never seen the action, never seen, and just for the action is a mooring cleat, like you would tie, like on a dock that you tie the boat to.
Huh.
Well, 6 inches, 8 inches long, and I'm staring at this thing, it's old, it's real old, and I hear from behind me, it's a dick gun, and I'm like, what? And I turn around, and the bartender's polishing a glass, and I said, I'm sorry, what? He says, it's a dick gun, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure he's not saying what I think he's saying. and he could see the confusion on my face, and he goes, God damn it, it's a duck, quack, quack. Like, oh, what duck? You need to enunciate for the children in the room. And so he says, you take her down if you'd like. And I was like, oh, for real? Jeez, Rick, this thing must have weighed 50 pounds. So it looked a little bit like a blunderbuss, right? Big, wide barrel. And then I'm looking at this breech, and I'm just like, I've never seen anything like it. 1790 something.
Really?
So I've never held anything that old. And he said what they would do, so where we were at in Ireland was an estuary, like a bay. And the difference between high and low tide is 12 feet.
Huh?
Bonkers.
Yeah.
He said, so if you had money, you'd load this thing with birdshot. If you were poor, you'd load it with gravel.
Huh?
And he said what you do is you paddle out into the estuary, into the middle, and drop anchor. And then on the bow of the boat, you'd lash this mooring cleat to the boat, because you can't hold the thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right? And he had a string, because the trigger had an eyelet in it where you'd tied a damn piece of string. And he said you'd wait until the tide left and the boat sit on the bottom of the ocean. And you'd lay down in the boat real still. Because then once there was all the little pools left, the birds, the ducks, and they would come down to feed. And he said you'd clap your hands and yank the rope. And he said if you're lucky, you'd take about a dozen ducks at a time.
Huh?
And he says if you missed, you're out of luck till tomorrow. Yeah. And but he said he'd shoot the ducks, get out of the boat, go around and collect all the ducks, and then you'd collect mussels and anything else you could get until the water started coming back in. He goes, as soon as water came back in, you got back in the boat, pulled up your anchor, and just sat there and waited until it got your boat off the floor, and then you'd paddle back to the shore with your ducks and your duck gun.
Well, that's amazing.
Yeah, but that was a cultural thing that I never learned that in a book. I would never have seen that in a movie. And that's what I like about traveling, and going to these places like Australia, that for me is the flexibility of learning. And, if you went a whole day without learning something, you wasted a day.
You have.
Absolutely.
I agree with you 100%.
That'll make you rusty. Keep learning stuff.
Yes, so don't die rusty.
Don't die rusty, baby.
But I want to thank you so much for coming over here.
Thank you, brother.
This has been a long time coming.
I was going to say what Rick was gracious enough not to say on the podcast was he's been after me for a while, and I'm pretty sure he almost gave up on me.
Pretty much.
But we were at dinner the other night, and he gave me the look, and I said, no, you tell me the time. He said Wednesday. I'm like, I'll be there. Doesn't matter what.
I said, I'll see if you answer this text.
I did. I answered it fast, didn't I?
You did.
See? Coach. No, and I do. I love what you're doing, and I appreciate you inviting me on, and you've had to be part of a list of such cool guests that you've had on is pretty awesome. So thank you.
Well, thank you, and I hope we can do it again sometime.
Love it. Thanks, boss.
Yes.
All right. Don't die rusty, folks.
Yes.
Don't
die rusty, nation. Keep chasing your dreams, being the best you, and of course, don't die rusty. I want to thank you for listening to this episode of the Don't Die Rusty podcast. And if you would be so kind to give us a review, a like, a share, and a subscribe, that'd be wonderful, and I would greatly appreciate it. And if you would like to follow us on Facebook, we're at Don't Die Rusty. If you'd like to follow us on Instagram, it's at Don't Die Rusty. And if you would like to get in contact with me, it's rick@don'tdierusty.com. And I just want to say I appreciate everybody listening, and as usual, keep chasing your dreams, being the best you, and don't die rusty.